Alright, so let's pick up from the image of the beast. Alright, the image of the beast is a religious power, just like the beast in our country, teaching many of the same false teachings. The majority of the Protestant world through the two great errors, the immorality of the soul and the Sunday sacredness. Satan will bring the people under his deceptions, while the former lays the foundation of spiritualism. The latter creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. The Protestants of the United States will be foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to grasp the hand of spiritualism. They will reach over the abyss to clasp hands with the Roman Empire. And under the influence of this threefold union, this country will follow in the steps of Rome in trampling on the rights of conscience. Alright, just listen to a video from Rick Warren.
We have far more in common than what divides us. When you talk about Pentecostals, charismatics, evangelicals, fundamentalists, Catholics, Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, on and on and on, well, they would all say, we believe in the Trinity, we believe in the Bible, we believe in the resurrection, we believe salvation is through Jesus Christ. These are the big issues. Sometimes Protestants think that Catholics worship Mary like she's another God. But that's not exactly Catholic doctrine. There's the understanding, and people say, well, what are the saints all about? Or, why are you praying to the saints? And when you understand what they mean by what they're saying, there's a whole lot more commonality. Now, there's still real differences. No doubt about that. But the most important thing is, if you love Jesus, we're on the same team.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Why should we bow into a mere man? Why should we bow to a mere man? Why should we pay homage to a man? Jesus said, don't call any man father. Alright?
The unity that I think we would see realistically is not a structural unity, but a unity of mission. And so, when it comes to the family, we are co-workers in the field on this for the protection of what we call the sanctity of life, the sanctity of sex, and the sanctity of marriage. So there's a great commonality, and there's no division on any of those three.
There are a lot of divisions. Understand? Our doctrine separates us. All religions have different teachings. They don't hold dear to the Bible's doctrines, the teachings of the Bible. Right? We know the Pope and the Catholic Church, the whole system, they more or less accepts the gay and homosexuality, LGBT, right? Lesbian, bisexual, homosexual agenda, whatever it stands for. Understand? So should we, as Protestants, should we really say the protest is over? Should we really join hands? Catholic, the name Catholic means universal. So their plot is really to, as Tony Palmer said, the protest is over and to join everyone together. But brethren, there are many doctrines that divides us. Brethren, we need to protest. The protest is not over. It can never be over. Alright? I'm going to let them finish.
Many times people have been beaten down for taking a biblical stance. And they start to feel, well, maybe I'm out here all by yourself. No, you're not. The church is growing in Latin America. The church is growing in Asia. The church is growing in Africa. It's not growing in North America or Europe, but it is growing everywhere else. And so we've kind of had
North
this
America
feeling
and
that
Europe.
maybe
Only
we're
those
not
two left.
as influential, but we're far more influential than people realize.
All right. So let me go on. Image of the beast. It's common clear, you see. It won't be the beast which enforces its mark by law in our country. It will be its image, Protestant America, the people. When the Pope, brethren, when the Pope come to America this year in September for the World of Families, brethren, that's serious. That's very, very serious. All right? I want you all to pay attention to that. So, it will be the image Protestant America. So, who passed the Sunday law? Who asked for a law? Protestant America. That's the people. Identification cards, numbers, something like this will allow the followers of the Sunday law to buy and sell. They will have these temporal benefits. Tremendous pressure will be on to conform. It all boils down to our being forced to either obey the laws of our beloved country and disobey God, or having to violate the laws of the land in order to obey our Lord. Which is more important? We have to choose. Alright? That's a real test. If you are faithful and true to God, you will find yourself for a short time before Christ comes without a job, without the right to buy or sell, and even under the death penalty. As I go on. Alright. Let me lay a foundation here now. So there was a twin institution in the Garden of Eden. There was a twin institution in the Garden of Eden as mentioned. Right? Reference for this is in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. True marriage between a man and a woman, Adam and Eve, and his true Sabbath day, Saturday. Genesis 2, 1 to 3, and Exodus 28 to 11. And even many more books in the Bible mentions about the Sabbath. And from ever since the arch deceiver Satan has been trying to set up a counterfeit. And guess what? He has been accomplishing this. But there is a limit. Just now Jehovah will say this far and no further. Let's look at Genesis chapter 19 and lay the foundation. Now, let me tell you. This picture portrays Lot, his wife, and his daughters leaving Sodom and Gomorrah. The angels bade them flee to the mountains, get out. Now we know that right before these angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah, they passed by Abraham, and Abraham invited them to eat and whatnot and whatnot. But when they were on the way, it was 3 angels, one of which was Jesus himself, right, and another 2 angels. Now Abraham knew what they were about to do. They were about to visit Sodom and Gomorrah. They were about to destroy it. But Abraham was like a intercessor. He was pleading on Sodom and Gomorrah's behalf. If you find 50, God said, I would not destroy them. If you find 40, same thing. 30, same thing. 20, same thing. It went down straight to 10. But then Jesus said, God said, that's it. This far, no further. Alright? And what we know that it's only Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters left. But because Lot's wife, the only thing that God mentions, that Jesus mentions in the Bible about Lot's wife is, remembers Lot's wife, nothing else. Now that's something to think about. Right? There are many women in the Bible who was religious and holy and obeyed God. But all he said for Lot's wife is, remember Lot's wife. We have to understand that Lot pitched his tent towards Sodom. And mind you, when you study the history, Lot was not married on his way with Abraham to this land. He was not married. But when it had some disputes between his herdsmen and Abraham's herdsmen, Abraham said, hey, let's not allow these things to happen. You know what? You choose whatever part of the land you want, and I will choose. So Lot chose to pitch his tent towards Sodom, while Abraham chose the other section. The mere fact that Lot pitched his tent towards Sodom, which is modern day Babylon, you understand? The signs of the modern day world. Eating, drinking, giving in marriage, marrying and giving in marriage, having parties, carnivals, and don't talk for homosexuality. It was prevalent in those days. Now the thing about it is, Lot's eyes was set on Sodom. The guy was curious. That's like most of us today. We're curious. So we dabble in the things of the world for some sort of pleasure, but not knowing that it's deadly. It can kill us in the end. Right? And it's in Sodom and Gomorrah he met his wife. Lot's wife was a part of the world. Right? The Bible speaks about be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. Solomon was the wisest man. But he himself get caught up with these Babylonians, these women. They stole his heart. Wasn't he the wisest man? So let any man who thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. You don't play with fire, brethren. I cannot play with fire, for it's going to burn me. Right? So Lot went about his business, went and lived in Sodom. Now, let me give you the history of Genesis 19. I'm going to lay the foundation. Now, these angels who, after visiting Abraham, right, they went to Sodom and Gomorrah. But in the far distance, Lot jumped up and he saw them. He wanted to welcome them, And he did. Right? Because they wanted to stay in the streets. But he adjured them, no. Come tarry with me. Come tarry with me for the night. For Lot knew the kind of people they were in Sodom. So Lot tried to shield these men. Shield these men from what could have taken place. But little did Lot know that these men were angels. And you see, if he had that spirit of discernment, if he was close to God as he's supposed to be, he would be able to discern and to know that these men were angels. Alright? But, he didn't know until. So he invited these men in. And soon after, all these men, all these Sodomites came to his door. And brethren, it wasn't easy. If you really read Genesis 19, you'll see the true picture. Now, the whole door all over was surrounded by the young and the old. And Sodom and Gomorrah was well known for homosexuality. So these men wanted to have sex with these angels. But instead, Lot entreated them, hey, why do this evil thing? Here's my 2 virgin daughters. Now I think this man gone mad. Because here it is. He's willing to sacrifice his 2 virgin daughters for these men to have their way. Alright? But the thing is, when he was talking to them, these men got more furious. They will rip him to pieces. But these angels grabbed Lot in and shut the door. Brethren, when these men came at Lot's door, this was a crucial point. God says this far and no further. Homosexuality has knocked at our door. And we ought to pay attention to this. There's reasons for why I'm saying that. Right? Let me go on. Now, homosexuality. We know what it is. Gays, lesbians, what have you. Now let me give you some news articles about what's taking place. Alright? We see in the United States of America, 37 states out of 50 with same-sex marriage bans. Alright? Alright, 13 states ban same-sex marriage. Alright? So, 8 states where gay marriage has been overturned, but where appeals are in progress. So you have these 8 states. So mind you, it's 37 and all pass the law. There are 15 or 37 passing. And 13 remain. Right? But 8 out of this 13 overturned. And the appeals are in progress. So if you add 37 and 8, you will get 45. What is left? 5 more. Brethren, that's not too far away. This is a very serious thing. You see, something does not become, I mean, it's done already unholy in the sight of the Lord. The Lord calls it an abomination. You see, not until a government or government office pass that law, legislate the thing, that is when God says this far no further. But we see, just like in Sodom and Gomorrah, that all around the world, this has been happening. It's gays all around. Look at our so-called sweet TNT. Gays get married. Mind you, this took place in 2002. Now, our Prime Minister ain't passed no law yet. So what did these men do? They went to the United States and got married. And they came back. But this is not the only couple to do this in our country. So I'm just bringing it home, right? I'm just bringing it home. And brethren, let me tell you, I'm going to go back to my presentation. Let me let this video do the talking, and then I'll say a little bit more. It has been 7 million members in the Adventist Church. Tens of thousands of them are gay.
I've read plenty of things that say it's not okay to be gay. The Bible says this, that, and the other thing, and the only choice you have is to try and change yourself into some sort of heterosexual lifestyle, or to be celibate and alone. Telling my parents and my siblings that I was going to be dating guys for the first time in my life, I was stepping out from underneath my parents' and family's blessing. My oldest brother Jeff is an Adventist minister. The
the Bible says these are the things God says not to do. I mean, homosexuality comes up pretty clearly in those. He says, if you love me, keep my commandments.
The true joy of this Advent message is that it is open to everyone. We are all part of one family.
It's not for me. It's not for people like me, really.
Everybody knew why I was leaving the church. That's the gay guy who used to be a pastor and is not anymore because of that. Some people have asked me, you are gay, your church doesn't accept you, I cannot understand why you don't go to another church. That is something very unique about being an Adventist. It's like being a Jew. It's there, it's who you are. People are kicking us out of the church all the time and you are saying, I am not going anywhere, I don't care what you say. We fight, we pay a very high price to stay, to keep our faith together.
More than anything, I want my girls to have a community and the secure, grounded belief system that I grew up with. But the whole thing was Sabbath school for our daughter, sermons to feed our soul, and just sit in the pew, and as long as nobody's actively attacking us, we're just okay being here.
People want to keep the church pure. They want the church to be pure.
Metric was caught between love and belonging.
We thank you, dear God, very much for the way you have given us. And if David is thirsty, snow goes to work. Pablo Neruda said that you can pick all the flowers, but you cannot stop the spring.
Seven Gay Adventists, a story of faith on the margins. Now, brethren, we are to hate sin, we are to defy sin, but love the sinner. Right? Jesus Christ showed this example when he was on earth. And we ought to follow in his step. Right? I mean, I don't condone, chastising these people and saying, that, you're going to hell. I mean, it's true that if all of us, if we don't separate ourselves from any sin for that matter, we will go to hell. God is trying to separate us from sin. He wants to destroy sin. He wants to, destroy Satan and his angels when he comes the second time. And brethren, if we cling to sin, we too are going to go down with Satan. Now, his wish is that none should perish, but all should come to repentance. But let me give you a little, a little secret. You see our general conference meeting session that's coming in July. But this is very serious. As I mentioned earlier, there was a twin institution. True marriage between a man and a woman in the Garden of Eden, and God's true Sabbath day. Now, this general conference session, we know that woman ordination and all that is already passed. I think they're going to make it final and stuff like that. But we know it's already part of the church, and that too is wrong. But brethren, the main issue, a little birdie told me from some of the things that they're going to do in this general conference session is they want to allow gay pastors to be in our midst. and to also marry gay people. Now, brethren, when I spoke about Lot, and that when these gay men knock on the door, Lot's door, God said this fan no further. Now, yes, we know that all over in America and the world, and even in Trinidad, there are gays among us. But that's just one thing. So think about Sodom and Gomorrah. All over is gays. But not until it knocked on Lot's door. Lot is like a modern day SD. He kept the Sabbath. Like most patriarchs and prophets and the Israelites. They kept the Sabbath. So they were ancient Seventh-day Adventists when you really think about it. Now it's not until this knock on the door of our church that God will say this far and no further. And brethren, take heed to this meeting, General Conference meeting in July this year. And brethren, if our church, if these heads, we have to understand that our church is run like a democratic government. So it's built on votes. So for instance, our head Ted Wilson, brethren, he's a genuine guy. He's a no compromise guy. God raised him up to do our work in this church. But we have to understand that there has been Jesuit infiltration in our church, in our camp. And if he stands up for truth, but the others don't, knowing that is based on votes, what could be done? But brethren, we still have to pray for our members, our leaders, because it's crucial. This meeting is so crucial that it will even, this meeting will prove a lot of things. This is people's soul salvation here. And brethren, if these leaders pass these laws, brethren, their probation is going to be closed. And that is it, this far and no further. There's a twin institution. When the devil is creating this counterfeit, so when this law is passed in our church to marry gays, last time I checked, when a baby is born, a twin baby, one comes out, the other one comes soon after. And then comes the Pope visiting America in September for the World of Families. Brethren, is right at our doorsteps. It's time for us to get ready. We have to understand that when the Sunday law passes, it's closed of probation for Seventh-day Adventists. So God is giving us time. He's buying us time for us to get ready to have a genuine relationship with Him. God is coming for His friends, His faithful people, not for people who don't know Him. So if I don't know Him, He's not coming for me. Brethren, I myself and even you, please make it your duty. Forget about this rat race, about money, about all these things that we so engulf in. Christ is calling us. He's calling us back. He's calling us back to His image. He's pleading with us right now. Alright, brethren. Alright, and when the Sunday law passed, that's it. Sunday law is mainly the test for Seventh-day Adventists. We are going to be persecuted daily. We are going to be chastised. We have to give account for our faith at that time. And once we are faithful, we will not also be able to buy and sell. So what good would the money be in the end? Ellen White says, let the workers and the means be scattered. So whatever extra money, those who are well off, whatever extra money you have, put it into use to further the gospel. Brethren, time is running out. Alright? We shall pick up after this.